Hi there. Welcome to another episode of the AuthorU, your guide to book publishing podcast. And as always, I bring back old favorites. We do constant things. We do usual things about book marketing, etc. But now we're going to take a turn. We're going to take a turn, and we have an old friend who we have never had the pleasure of having on the show before. And the strategies that we're going to be looking at in doing today really is going to be up in here, the psychology of what gets you stuck, what gets you unstuck. Our author is the author of Same Shit, Different Day, as well as 7 Critical Mindset Strategies. With us is Heather Elliott. Heather is the founder of 5D Psychology, and she's the creator of the mindful change process, which I thought would be perfect with all the challenges we're all dealing with just the environment, with the writing challenges, with the onslaught of AI, how to deal with it, how to control it, how to use it. She spent decades building and applying a psychological framework that really gets something way beyond what mainstream psychology does and absolutely overlooks. So, through her 5D psychology, she's created a methodology that we're going to kiss on today. And she explores how the beliefs and perceptions, ours, yours, shape your experiences. And from those experiences, they're your outcomes. So, with us, Heather Elliott, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Judith. I look forward to our conversation.
Oh, we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great time on that. So I always like
We
to,
always do, Judith. We always do.
we
When we
have
get
had,
together. Yes.
and it's been a long time since you've come to Denver. You know?
Oh, it's true. It's true. I
Yeah,
was thinking about that as I was preparing for today. It's been a
yeah,
long while. Too
yeah.
long.
You all know Heather is one of my uh, Canadian-based contacts. You know that I'm a huge fan of Canada everywhere. And Heather, you know what? Let's tell everyone your website so they know how to find you.
Yeah. It's www.mindfulchange.com.
All right, so really easy peasy, mindfulchange.com. I would suggest you follow her blogs. And actually, there was something that she had written not too long ago that triggered me. I said, "Why I hadn't had her on the show?" And it was just long overdue. So that started the reach out in going forward with that. So as always, I always like to kind of use one of the quotes. One of the quotes I love is from Stephen King, and his attitude about writing is just start writing. Don't don't worry about and this is my add-ons to it. One of the biggest problems that authors have is the perception problem, getting it perfect all the time. King's issue, which is I totally parallel, just start writing it. Cleanup can come up later. Just get your ideas out. And maybe that's maybe the first step of mindful change, everyone. Get away from perfection. It's really a form of procrastination and putting stuff off, by the way. So let's start from there. So Heather, let's talk about a little bit about your own writing journey a little bit before we get into some of these overall discussion topics I wanted to play with.
Um, yeah, it's interesting because I wrote my book, Same Shit, Different Day. I wrote it in 2014, I think. It was a
Hmm.
while back that it was published. And, at that point, I would say that I was writing the book that I thought people wanted to read. Like that was my orientation. I was an entrepreneur. I had created something I wanted to share with the world. And so I was trying to imagine what they would want to read. And I
Hmm.
think the biggest transition for me over the years, Judith, has been to realize the best writing is when you're coming from yourself. And the thing of it
Oh,
is,
yes. Oh yes,
So
that's an oh yes, yeah.
so the real key, the absolute real key is to write from your heart, to write from what you love to write, what you're excited to write about in the style that works for you, that is a representation of you. So, because our world has taught us to come from the outside in, like to worry so much about what the outside world wants from us. But the thing is, as writers, as authors, as creators, we actually have our own unique perspective that when we write, we want to share that with the world. And so rather than worrying about what we think somebody else is looking for, we just need to learn to channel ourselves and let that authentic voice speak. And that's probably the single biggest thing that's happened in my evolution as a writer.
Well, I love what you just said because let's go back to the title of that book, which I have always loved, by the way. Same shit, different
Yes.
day. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
the Groundhog Day thing. But
Yes, it is.
when we took Heather's book out for printing options, I got into a hairy discussion with the head honcho, the general manager of a printing company. I don't know if you remember this, Heather, but
No, I don't.
they wouldn't print the book because it had shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And now look what's being. I mean, look what you see all over the place. All right, just
Yeah.
all right. So,
Yeah.
and I said, really, Phil, really, Phil, and he says, well, we do some things in the faith, in the Christian organization, and I just don't want my any of my staff people to be offended. And I said, really, Phil, let's talk about offended on that. I said, I don't worry about this kind of stuff. In fact, confession to all of you, but my first child, who is now, thinking of retiring, um, her third word after mama, dada was shit. It was my favorite word. I was 17 years old. It flowed sometimes. That was the worst word I could think of. Anyway, so when I was really frustrated. So I said, Phil, let me tell you what offends me. This doesn't offend me at all. In fact, I told him about Shelley. And I said, the Iraqi war offends me. What are you printing about that? What are you printing about war related stuff? And he says, well, I guess you and I have to have a long talk.
Mm. Yep.
So they didn't print the book. We found others. But it was
Yeah.
really, what I had to pound away at some of the. So what is offensive? What words get people's attention? What
Yeah.
sticks in our mind? Oh, all right. So, well, let's get into that. Let's talk about patterns. And by the way, I felt the book. I mean, your book was always one of my favorites. I love the cover of the book. Totally. You hold it up so people can see it. Can you show your book? All right, so there you go. I loved all the symbols of it, and the subtitle was "Get Unstuck." Get unstuck now and create the life of your dreams. It is as relevant today as it was 12 years ago when she published it initially. So you can get it on Amazon, of course. But those are the things that we're talking about the stuckiness and the unstuck. And so that's where Heather work has taken her. But it does address the pain. The stuck is the pain. Stuck,
Yes.
that
Yes.
is that. So what are the patterns that you recognized, years ago when you wrote that book, and then your own evolution as a consultant and someone who works with people? What are the patterns and what are the changes? And maybe do you see some things coming our way? How's that all sound?
Well, certainly our life is changing. I mean, just the ability to use the word shit and not get people riled kind of thing in the publishing world. I mean, that's a huge evolution. But I mean, as far as people and life go, what I find is people are starting to get that their belief systems are actually a factor in what they're experiencing. Like that is starting to come into more of a mainstream, not completely mainstream, but people understand the terminology
Hmm.
and they are more willing to work with their attitudes, their mindsets, their belief systems in order to prepare to do things. Like in the past, it was about let's just go out and get the skills. So let's go to school, let's take a course, this, that, and the other thing. But now people are realizing that the mental preparation, being prepared on the inside, is a factor in their reality. And that's going to become bigger over time as more and more people understand that.
Well, and also, I think maybe what we need to do is that also ties really into the young person's market. I mean, you and I have been around for a while, and that I think that we saw it coming. Certainly, I don't know when microwave ovens were introduced, but the microwave
Um,
society came in, and that
yeah,
instant,
that
everything
was,
had to be instant.
yeah, 1984, 83,
Okay.
84 was when the microwaves came into being. It was when my daughter was born. And all of a sudden I had a microwave. It was, yeah. So, yeah, it
Oh,
was a big deal.
yeah, heat up my tea. Yes. That's about the primary thing I use it for.
Yes. Me too.
Really. Yeah, I don't cook
Yeah.
in it. All right. So the patterns have changed. And you talk about why do they keep what's so now we're talking about the groundhog factor. Why does it keep coming back?
Yes. Yes. Like what this book, The Same Shit, Different Day, was about was the idea that patterns keep coming back because they're in us. So we'll take the example of the abused woman. Is an abused woman, she's in an abusive relationship and she works with some social workers to get herself out of that situation. And lo and behold, within a few months, isn't she back in a relationship with an abusive person? And the interesting part is why is that? And that, but the pattern holds for everything. Is that if someone has difficulty with money, it doesn't matter if they're taught money strategies, they keep reinventing money problems. If they have work problems, they keep reinventing. They'll move from job to job to job,
Yep.
and they keep encountering the same problems. And that's when you're noticing, okay, so what's the deal? Because I changed jobs because I thought if I change jobs, like lo and behold, I'm going to experience a different reality. And I don't. Right back in it. And sometimes they notice it's 10 times worse than the job they left. And that's when you start to ask the question, all right, so something else is driving it. And
Mm-hmm.
those that are authors, I mean, because our focus is writing, like the neat part is that when you get into the mind, you begin to realize your mind is nothing but an incredibly complex story that you're writing every second of every day. Every second you're writing the story, and it is your
Sure.
memories that keep it intact. And so when you experience a reality, so you're having problems in this job, you switch to this job, same problem, same shit, different day, same thing over here. And then you realize, okay, then it's in here that I hold belief systems or expectations that allow me to keep showing up again and again in the same places. Like I keep drawing to me these same experiences. Like it is uncanny. It is like Groundhog Day. Like every morning he woke up and he went through exactly the same set of circumstances until he grew and evolved. And then at the end of the movie, by that point, his heart was open. He knew how to love. And when he knew how to love, then he changed days. Well, it's very similar in terms of our mind as we keep re experiencing the same set of circumstances until we change that inner dialogue, that story that we're holding that maintains the patterns in our life. And
Mm-hmm.
those stories, most of them are held in place from childhood. From the age of, by the age of 7, we have most of our foundational stories written. And the rest of our life is just building the house that forms from that belief system. And that belief system is taught to us mostly by our parents, but also by the time you're 7, you've got society and the education system as heavy influences in terms of how we see ourselves and how we see life. But
Mm.
those big foundational beliefs, like that's the amazing part. Like having written a book was once I got into understanding the mind and how we're always writing our story, the work writing the book with you helped me help people to rewrite the scripts in their mind that keep things in place that they don't or prefer not to experience. So, like
Mm.
the Groundhog Day thing, I knew exactly what the guy had to learn in order to get out of that Groundhog Day. He had to stop being a douchebag and he needed to grow a heart. Like,
And
that's
you
what
couldn't,
life was.
and we couldn't have said douche
Yeah, I know.
14 years ago. That would have got me really in trouble with the
Exactly. But that's an interesting part because that, when we talk about, I say, be authentic, be yourself. You and I debated that title. We said we could put SH asterisk T, and I said, no, spell it out. Like we're putting the whole thing in there. But that's what I mean is that when you're coming from your authenticity, you say it the way it is. Like it is what it is. And we're living in a time when we're able to say way more than we could ever say in the past.
hmm And and although if people look at the past, there's a lot of repeating going on.
Oh
That's what,
yeah.
there's a lot of repetition going on.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I mean, I guess my question is for all of you authors, are you rewriting the same story over and over again? What are you
Mm-hmm.
doing to juice this stuff up? What are you doing it to take it to another level? I mean, Heather, I'm now doing some historical fiction. Who would have thought that I would be, oh, what ways can we murder this guy? I mean, I just coming
Perfect.
up with some of the unbelievable ways, because we have to kill we have to kill a bad guy, really bad guy before this next book's in. So I'm really having a good
Okay.
time of how I'm going to take this sucker down.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
and I never thought I'd be ever writing this kind of ever that ever changing. But I think now we go back to and I know that fear is always a common response, but what other factors are in this huge resistance that most people have for any kind of change in their lives, to change their behavior, to acknowledge maybe their rotten behavior that they're the creator of, versus,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes outside elements come in and make us go cuckoo. I get that.
Yes. Yeah. But for most people, I mean, what keeps us in the same pattern is because you come to be a certain person. Like when I said by the age of 7, you're pretty much who you're going to be. That's going to be the first iteration of you, is
I
who
think
you
that's
are
really
by
an
the age of
important thing.
7.
I wrote that down in my notes. So,
Yeah, I saw you doing that, and I thought, yeah, because most people don't
yeah,
realize that the structure of your mind,
yeah.
like the central belief system, the way you see
Mhm.
life, it's all very carefully organized pretty much by the age of 7, unless big impactful events happen after that, that again shape and mold it. But think of it this way: if most people are operating on the basis of a 7-year-old psyche, okay, belief system, then you
Gee.
tell me why they don't want to change. It's because they've been this person. They have experienced this life since they were 7 years old. That's how they relate to themselves. Like when I said that we are intricate, complex stories. I'm not kidding. So think of it this way, is you got this massive unconscious story running in your brain about who you are and how life works. And then you want to change that piece over there, but that piece over there is linked to every other piece of your story. So you're getting into hiccups here because, I want to change this piece. Well, then these pieces don't work anymore. And so it's because we hold these massive stories and we don't realize we're a walking memory. That's how I would phrase it. We're a walking memory. And as a walking memory, if you interrupt one piece of the story, you're going to imbalance something else. And so people become resistant to it because what you don't realize is what it's linked to. Okay, so give you, for instance, especially ladies, we all struggle sometimes with weight and trying to lose weight and dieting and all that kind of stuff. So a woman becomes determined to lose weight. So she goes on a diet, she starts exercising, et cetera, and she starts to change. But then her husband, all of a sudden, is not happy. Not happy. We don't know why, but he's not happy.
Mhm.
And the friend down the road that she used to hang out with all the time, well, that friend isn't friendly anymore. Well, why is that? And she goes to work, and man, at work she's being seen. Like, people are noticing she's losing weight, she's looking really good, and she's gaining confidence at work. Well, then when she goes home really confident, starts talking to her husband,
Mhm.
husband isn't happy because wife is growing confident. Because what
Oh,
she
yeah.
doesn't understand is that she's part of another story called her husband's story and her friend's story. And so the moment she starts to
Mhm.
change and become confident and different, she is now hitting on their insecurity buttons. They don't feel good enough to be around her, or they think, oh, she's hoity toity now, that she's all slim and fit and all this kind of stuff. So now they start another story, and suddenly her husband and her best friend, and so then she goes, well, what do I do? She loves the attention, and she's probably moving up at work, people are noticing her, etc. So she loves that. But at home things are kind of deteriorating, and with the friend the same thing. And then you get into the family dynamics. Let's say she's part of a larger family who struggle with weight, and all of a sudden she's losing weight and the rest of the family members aren't losing weight. And then she's hitting all their buttons about feeling not good enough. Do you see how that goes?
Mhm. Perfect.
And it's
Well,
all
what it
stories.
is, and some of these people around actually will not sometime, covertly, but sometimes overtly sabotage that
Yes,
growing person. And
yes.
I actually experienced that. I remember when, I had well, it's when I went through a divorce years ago,
Okay.
like 55 years ago, whenever I did that years ago. And I remember literally, and I was 4 months pregnant. I was trying to do something nice for my husband at that time, and I was making something. I bought uh, tickets for him for a football game, and they were too close to the ground floor, the ground. So he was really pissed at me. And so I was making a sandwich, and I remember um, um, dropping dropping the jar of mayo on the floor. We had those little teeny tiles back, and now
Mhm.
I'm talking about the 70s, everybody.
Yeah.
Um, Little teeny tiny. And then I reached for the mustard, and by God, I dropped that sucker too. And I remember slinking down on the floor, and the song that came into my head was Peggy Lee's "Is That All There Is?"
Mhm.
And I made that decision. Is that all there is? Would become that all there was. And then the plan started. I was going to leave that. I was going to get out of there. And I was
Mhm.
abused. I was going to get out of there. That was it. And there was a couple things that happened, and then that was it. But there's things that there's triggers. That there's sometimes triggers that come along. This is this.
Absolutely.
I'm out of here. I'm not going to continue living like this.
Yep.
So we all have those different points.
Yep. And you might say that that probably was your lowest point, or one of your lowest points
That
was
was a
in
very
that
low point.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
oh, by God, I left an amazing. I kept his mother as my heart mom. Joyce was my heart mom until she died.
right.
I just divorced the rest of the family. I had to,
Yeah.
for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But that it was tough, and people tried to sabotage me from
Yep.
my father,
Yep.
and
Yep.
to all kinds of different things because I was the
Yep.
first divorce in the family. The shame
Yep.
of it, the shame.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I
Um,
was there. I was that one too.
yeah, and I got fired from my job for getting a divorce.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I had several of the clients were so upset when I got fired that they actually took me to lunch and they gave me an envelope, Heather. I don't know if I ever told you the story. They gave me an envelope. And inside the envelope was a round trip ticket to San Francisco. Inside the envelope was interviews they had set up for me. And inside the envelope was $2,000 in cash. And they said,
Wow.
you have helped us so much. We need to help you. Okay.
Wow.
And that was
Yeah.
this huge
That's
leap.
when that's when you know you're on the right track.
Yeah.
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 When you experience that kind of support, that kind of love. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was just like, oh, okay. So all these things, but I had gone through a real transition to that get to the point where I said, that's it. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But they're triggers, that came from dropping the mayo in the mustard
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
started it. All right, so
Yes.
let's go. You write. You see. All my guests, by the way, give me a couple of things to just kind of chatter about. And Heather sent me, "What if reality isn't happening to you, but through you?"
Mhm.
So, can you expand on that one for me?
Well, it's a continuation of the idea that we live an unconscious story, that we are actually living our own memories that we have constructed in a certain way. So it's how we perceive ourselves. And when we say life works through us, is the idea that we're going to attract the people or the circumstances that reflect to us what we believe deep down, what we really believe deep down. So that, using your instance, for instance, the first husband that you attracted to you, is that you stayed in that marriage, obviously, for a certain period of time. So what we can safely assume is that you saw yourself in a certain light that would allow you to accept the douchebag the way he was. In other words, you stayed there, you tried to make it right for a period of time
Mhm.
until you could no longer lie to yourself. Like, in other words, the shift came when you looked and said, like, this is not aligning with me. But we allow certain people and certain circumstances into our life based on how we see things. So that, the fellow you married that time, you accepted the abuse you received, you normalized it, or you rationalized it somehow. And so it's like you're responsible for the reality you created here, in the sense that you accepted it.
Mhm.
You accepted
Mhm.
it. So that's
Mhm.
when life, like, we are accepting this, like the same with anybody, like any of the women that are in an abusive relationship on some level, for some reason, and we don't know what it is, it can be different for everybody. The brain will normalize that, will make it okay that someone treats us this way, or Perhaps it's a fear of being alone, a fear of not being loved that will cause people to stay in circumstances that are not good for them. And so life is not happening to you, life is happening through you. You know, we are the authors at all times of our destiny based on how we see and respond to our world. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
you, when I see the support you got from your clients
Mm-hmm.
that valued you so highly and sent you off to San Francisco for, you know, with money and everything else
Mm-hmm.
designed to help you move forward. See, what that tells me inside is that you have this huge heart. There's
Mm-hmm.
a part of you, there's a part of your story that has high self-esteem, that has confidence, and that has love for yourself and others. And that's what created that opportunity and allowed you to move your life forward. And that also was the part of you that allowed you to see the mismatch with your husband, to say, this is not my destiny. I deserve more than this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part
Mm-hmm.
of you. So
Mm-hmm.
again, it's you. It's all about us and what we accept and what we expect that is shaping the reality that we experience. And it really isn't happening to us as much. Like the husband that was abusive, guess what? He's going to go off down the road and find another one and abuse her too. Okay. So, like, what I've learned about life is we're not trying to change our outer world. We're not. We need to be aware of what we're thinking, what we believe that is creating or keeping us in the circumstances we're in. And also to recognize that when really great stuff happens in your life and you've had some great experiences, it's
Mm-hmm.
because of who you are and your story, how you see yourself, and what your intention was. You create it all. You do. And
Mm-hmm.
so we are our successes as well as our failures, as well as the middle of the road. We're all of
Mm-hmm.
it. And
Oh,
it's
I love that
us
line.
creating it.
Oh, the middle of the road. Um, because a lot of us are in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And it could be that one of my favorite books, Heather, when I was working on my master's years ago, was called Mastery.
Okay.
And it talked about the power of plateauing, that middle of the
Yes.
road,
Yeah.
where you can get in and do that assessment, where you can decide that's all there was. You know, in my case, Steve, in the last year, that's when alcohol came in, that's when drugs came in, and that's when I left the building. And
Yeah.
because that's not going to be part of my life. That is not part of my life. And but you have this plateau. And then when it all starts coming together, when you step out, he talked about the elevator shaft. That so many people, this I'm talking to you young authors. Oh, I'm going to sell 1 million books right away. No, you're not. The reality is, no, you're not. Last year, 4 million books were published. Less than 10 sold 1 million copies. Let's do a reality check. But you can do things to start doing the plateau, to start doing the building for your success to come. And so when you step out, and so what the author was saying is when you step out, you don't just step out from floor one. All of a sudden you might jump up to floor six because you did all this seeding and
Mhm.
repositioning and rethinking and whatever skill sets you bring on. You wrote all the crap because you did what Stephen King says, just right, just right.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, gee, these words start seeming different. I know, Heather, if you look at the book you wrote 12 years ago, your writing has changed. You
Mhm.
know, all our stuff changes, and the way we
Yeah.
think, what our experience, and all that, and
Yeah.
different things come together very, very easily, and you can move from there. So, but Mastery it turned out to be was the favorite book of my entire MBA class. too. And it's a
Interesting.
little book. It's a little
Yes.
book. So,
It doesn't take long to express because it's a really simple principle, you know. But when you gave that example of, the authors, you're in your plateau and then you've got the elevator shaft, is that when you're moving floors in that elevator shaft, what people don't really appreciate yet, but it's coming, is that you're actually building your way you see yourself, your writing, your commitment to your writing. See,
yes.
that's the scaffolding you're actually building. So on the outside, it looks like we're doing this, and this, right? So we're doing social media, we're doing podcasts, we're doing whatever we do to raise our profile in the public eye. But I challenge you, what we're really doing is we're building our commitment to what it is we say we want to achieve. And what causes people to not achieve is getting comfy in, well, I don't really have to do that. Like when we get comfortable, the comfort zone, like it's okay. Like I've got my business, I don't need to do that. Like, and what happens is that you never, because building the elevator shaft, and mentally, you have no idea what you have to go through to build the mental infrastructure that becomes the elevator shaft. Like that's the journey, actually, is this. And life's experiences will support the development of this if you're committed to this, the elevator shaft. It will.
Mhm.
Like you'll have to meet the people, et cetera, that will allow you to build your elevator shaft.
Mhm.
And but it's really what people don't give enough value to, I think, is the building of the infrastructure called your mind. I see it as the
Thank you.
blueprint of your physical reality. It's blueprint. It has to come first before the reality will manifest.
Said this. I mean, I use the word infrastructure all the time, with authors that I'm working with. There is so much that you have to do. And they always say, well, no one wants to start marketing a book, Heather, until after they have the book in hand. No, 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 no. You start building your marketing infrastructure the day you start writing. And so I tell them, well, you didn't do that, so we're going to start today. And there's
Yes.
so much to it. I had one client who we were going to be doing all the building and adding it to Amazon and getting it into Ingram so bookstores could do it. And he said, can I just stay online with you in Zoom and just watch what you're doing? And I said, it's going to take a few hours as I do this part of the structure. I said, do you want? He says, absolutely, I want to watch. And so
Okay.
Jay stayed with me the whole time. And when we were done, he said, I don't think I could not have done this if you hadn't done this. I could not, it would have taken me so many more hours to do what you just did because you knew kind of what you were doing here. And it does help when you know what you're doing and you've done it
It
before, that's
does.
for sure. But it
Yes.
was really quite an eye opener for him to go through that. So,
Yep.
so
Yep.
we did all that. But
Yes.
it's amazing. But infrastructure is a great line. I'm glad I brought up the mastery book. People, we're going to tell you getting books. Get Heather's book, by the way. I want you to get Same Shit, Different Day. And I want you to get her other book, Seven Critical Mindset Strategies. Both are available on
They can
Amazon.
they actually can purchase it off my website. I have a way for them to purchase it and I will send it
Okay.
out to them. So
All right. So
yeah,
and that would be mindfulchange.com, everyone.
correct.
Mindfulchange.com. And you can just click over and get signed up and explore that in that area. All right. So, Heather, you talk about some of the hidden beliefs and what would be some of the hidden beliefs? You're an author. You probably had some yourself.
Oh yes.
So,
Yes.
what are the hidden beliefs that you maybe did redirects with that moved you in actually because you've really grown in huge directions since you and I first met over a decade ago.
Yes. Yes. Um, Gee, when I think about the central belief system that I probably worked on, um, I don't think we realize how many limiting beliefs that we have inside of ourselves. That, when you think
Ooh,
about an enterprise, Judith, of creating a book, writing a book. Um, for people who are not natural entrepreneurs, for people who perhaps haven't run a business before, what you've done a beautiful job of is helping them understand you are starting a business. So you're
yes.
not just writing a book, okay? You are starting a business. So you need to think of this as a business. So you need to be thinking about the marketing. You need to be thinking about this, that, and the other thing. So um, number one, I think probably one of the limiting things is the belief around. I want to say the commitment. Like, do you have a commitment to your vision? Like, how committed are you to your vision? And I think if people got honest, I know for me personally, I can say that I probably painted a picture that, all you had to do was write the book and it would be, done like that. I had to have a book, and so I'm going to write a book and that kind of thing. But
Hmm. Yes.
was I committed to the enterprise of building a business with that book? No, I wasn't. Like, that's the reality, is that I didn't understand it within myself, nor I had other things that I was trying to build at the same time. So building the infrastructure of a book and the business that went with it, I I wasn't real with myself about what was necessary. And so I let myself down by having too many irons in the fire. And I think a lot of people do the same. The other thing that we can do is we will tend to want to do what we enjoy, and we tend to avoid what we don't enjoy. And this is where discipline comes into it. So, where you could be spending time marketing your book and getting serious about that. Well, instead, you know what? I want to go out with the kids and water ski, or whatever it is. So you allow yourself to get distracted by the fun stuff, and then you can make excuses why you didn't do the other stuff,
Hmm.
right? The
Oh, I
other
see it all
thing that
told that. I told it. You are giving my lecture that I give to all most of my. Oh, I love it. All right.
Yeah, the the other thing that can happen is that we can look at writing a book as kind of, oh, it's like a dream. It's like, imagine being that author, that person, that scene,
Mhm.
so we end up doing it because our ego wants the validation, it wants to
Mhm.
shine, and all this
Mhm.
kind of stuff. And I would suggest to you that, the place to go is to see, are you aligned with your heart here? Like, are you really aligned with your heart? Is this really, really important to you? Because what will drive all the discipline that's necessary? And like the guy that sat on the phone with you or on Zoom with you for 2 hours to watch what you did, what drives that naturally is a commitment that comes from your heart, a commitment to
Mm.
what it is he says he wants to do. And I feel like this is the case with authors, but any other entrepreneur, is that, you're going to put into that venture whatever you believe you have to, that's going to match your inner passion. So if this book writing is your passion, you will invest the time, you will figure it out, you will do what is necessary. and
Mhm.
and it's not an ego journey. Like, it's not a, I want to shine, like, razzle dazzle, look at me. And so many of us probably start in that place, would be, wow, it'd be
Yep.
really nice to be an author.
Yep.
And okay.
Absolutely. Yep. It's right. And the phrase that I use, Heather, all the time, and you certainly can take it and run with it. I mean, I love it that you've mentioned the alignment, which was not a word used in the 70s when I started, it was
Mm.
when I started writing, 80s when I was, 80s is really when I really took off. But that it just wasn't a word. But the phrase I use all the time with people when they're getting into this, because I talk about the vision, and the passion. Passion comes in from the heart, all right? So what's that
Yeah.
driving? But it's the commitment, and the commitment has time,
Yes.
energy, and
Yep.
you carry. Maybe I'm going to substitute passion for heart because I like what you're using there, and the heart that keeps driving you. I certainly that's what I'm
Yep.
doing, but that when
Yes.
you move into this deal, you have to. And I tell people it's blinder time, and you have to become myopically focused. If if
Yep.
if if get past the ego stuff because your ego is going to get shot down several times during this process.
Yep. Yep.
But if this is where your heart is, to get out, to make a difference, to help with the pain, to solve problems, or to entertain with your right, whatever we're going to do with this process,
Yep.
that it's that focus that you will carry it on because you've talked about the dream. This is not Kevin Costner in the Field of Dreams. You can't just build it and they will come. You have to have that infrastructure in play to bring them in and to support them.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
So that alignment, that use of heart, that's what gets you through those moments when your ego just got slammed, or when things are hard, or you know, you're just feeling defeated. It's your heart that will get you up the next morning and say, let's give it another go. And it's like that about anything that we're passionate about, is that, and writing a book is not something that is for the faint of heart. It's
no,
not. Like,
no, it's like
no.
aging. It's like
Like,
aging. It's not for sissies. Okay, so writing, it's not for sissies.
not for sissies. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So does this tie in when you talk about why personal growth um, doesn't work for most, and the heart is what actually does,
Yes.
what brings you
Yeah.
in and
And
drives?
yeah, it has to be aligned. Like, we have to know why we're doing something. Is that when we're aligned with our heart, as in, this is the right thing to do, as I said, it will get you over the tough moments. It will help you be disciplined. It will make you committed. But if the heart isn't engaged, if you're doing something from fear, or if you're doing something because you don't feel good enough, and you want to feel better about yourself, that's where you start to get into trouble, when things don't flow easily. And I say that there's two choices in life: love and fear. Are we coming out of fear, or are we coming out of love? Are we coming out of our heart? And what we do from our heart, we may not do a lot, like, as in, the ego loves to start and do, big splashes and lots of this and razzle dazzle and that kind of thing, because it's seeking validation externally. The heart doesn't seek validation externally, because it's getting its juice from the inside. It's getting its juice from the rightness of its actions, from feeling aligned with its purpose. That is what will keep them moving forward when all of the other razzle dazzle stuff dies out. So, yeah, making sure that you're aligned with yourself, and that writing a book truly comes out of your heart, that your words are truthful, that you're feeling those words, that you're not lying to yourself or whatever, but you're feeling it, and you're in the right place, you're in that sweet spot. When you do life from that perspective, life flows, and it is a lot easier than it is when you're trying to do it force yourself to do something.
Oh yeah, I love it. Listen, I know we only have a couple of minutes left, so I need to have you kiss on. So what's the new psychology of we have about 5 minutes here
Mhm.
of human potential? What's this you talk about your conscious creation? I know we've really I've loved this discussion because it just speaks to my heart
Yes.
on that where I've gone and I had a recent discussion with someone about I created the Authors Hall of Fame. So and it was really from my heart. It's a lot of work. Is it work? And the things around it. But it's really the legacy of these people who have made such a difference in Colorado connected somehow. That they brought their words from their
Mhm.
heart. So that's what about someone we were talking about stuff. I said, this is not about ego. It's not about ego.
No, it's a
It's
passion project.
really, it's this
Yeah.
journey that brings you forward and keeps you doing that. I mean, here I am. I'm just getting ready to publish the end of this month, my 49th book. Oh my God, Heather. I mean, I only started out to write one book, period. That was it.
Yeah. But look what you've built. And of course, your entire life, Judith, has been a passion project in terms of what you've built.
Yeah,
It's been
that's
like the
right.
entire life. I knew that when I met you. Like you don't
Oh,
keep
what fun.
doing what you do and unless you are passionate about what you do. And you just keep
Absolutely.
creating and keep adding. And yeah, you've
Yeah.
lived in your passion. You've done a beautiful job of that.
Yeah. My grandson, who is 38, said, "When are you going to retire?" And I said, "Why would I do that?
Why would you do that?
Why,
Exactly.
why, why would I? I am actually befuddled by people who retire, who just stop. And I say,
Yeah.
you're going to play cards all day? You're going to do, I mean, travel, do you learn? I believe in
Yeah.
lifelong learning, no matter what the learning little nugget
Yes.
is. But that,
Absolutely.
I mean, what's next? As long as my brain is going, it's what's next.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely. I agree with you.
So the new psychology of human potential. Where are we going?
Okay, so I've done a lot of work helping people transition and transform limiting mindsets and beliefs because I know how to
Mm,
go into their story. And if you can think of a limiting mindset like a chapter in your story, I can help them go into that storyline, understand what they wrote, and change it because they're the author. Ultimately, your brain is it's your intellectual property. The only one that is authorized to change it is you. And I know how to help people do that. So the extension of that was then saying, okay, what principles am I using that allow me to do it? And that's when that gave birth originally to the future of psychology. This is the future of
mhm.
psychology because I do things that standard psychology don't do, and I do it in a different way, and I have far greater success than most standard psychologists. So, and I'm way more efficient, happens far faster. So I saw it as the future of psychology. But then I said, well, hang on a second. There's all sorts of principles that I'm pulling in from, I want to say, my spiritual understanding, one of
Mhm.
which is the new science is quantum physics. And quantum physics looks at reality different than 3D, physics. So I started to build out the idea of, okay, what is the difference in terms of how we will function psychologically in this new paradigm? And so I started to build out, I want to say, an understanding, some principles of it, how it operates, how you can use it to move your life forward, things to be aware of, etc. So that's the arena that I'm moving into now, is helping people understand what I call the fifth dimensional world as opposed to the
Mm.
third dimensional.
Ooh, I love that. Well, that sounds like another conversation we need to have. You know, what is the fifth dimensional world?
Oh,
You know,
it's a real it's exciting. Like when you start to change, because you remember you said, why do people not change?
mhm.
Well, part of the reason why people don't change is they're still relating to what I call the 3D world. But when you change and start relating to the world as the 5D world, then all of a sudden you've got a flexibility here that wasn't present in 3D. But it
Oh, I
takes
love
some
that.
shifting.
Oh, well,
Takes
I
some
love
shifting.
shifting anyway. I'm one of the people who actually likes change. All right, with that, Heather, we're out of time. I actually don't want our conversation to end. So we we have to figure out
We will
ways to continue that.
we will continue the conversation, Judith.
All right. So everyone, reminder, get Heather's books. Same shit, different day, and the seven critical strategies for all of those things. But go to her website, mindfulchange.com. We'll see you next week. Thank you all for being with us with a very fabulous conversation.